All right, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Aquarium's Online Academy. My name is Talia. I'm from our Education Department, and I'm excited to share a little bit of my morning with you. So today, we're actually going to be talking about one of my favorite animals. We're going to be talking about sharks. Some of the cool things that make sharks sharks. Talk about a couple different species of sharks, as well as talking a little bit about their conservation. So some challenges that are affecting them and some things we can do to help them out. So that's kind of our game plan today. So welcome everybody. Now during our chat today, if you have any questions, if you're curious about something, if you see something or hear something we're talking about, you're like, I want to know a little bit more about that, you are welcome to ask those questions and text them into this the studio here if you are watching this program live. So we're going to get a number up on our screen in just a moment here. So you are welcome to text those questions in. And that number is right there, 562-286-1838. So if you're watching this live, you're welcome to text those questions in. I'm happy to answer any questions to the best of my abilities. I have myself and my friend Miss Soraya in here helping me with all the magic behind me in our studio today. She'll also be manning that text line. So please feel free to ask questions if you have questions. Now, if you're watching this later in the day, not at 9 o'clock on Friday morning, you can still ask questions. We just ask that you email us instead, and the email address is down below, live@lbaop.org. So those are two ways to interact with us depending on when you're watching this program. But again, please feel free to ask those questions if you have some questions. I'm just going to adjust my mic just a teeny tiny bit. All right, so my friends, I thought we would start off this morning by sort of waking up our scientist brains. We're going to be shark scientists this morning. We hopefully have scientist brains in our head if we're going to be shark scientists. But anywho's, we're going to wake up our scientist brains today, and we're going to start off by making some observations about our sharks. I'm going to have my friend Miss Reyes pop us into Shark Lagoon, which is an exhibit that we have here. I'm going to get you out of the way so you can see more amazing sharks. It's an exhibit we have here at the aquarium, and this is actually one of our webcams. So if you're ever wondering, what are the sharks up to at the aquarium, you can go check out our webcam on our website and see what they're up to. So let's take a moment, take about a minute or so, and make some observations. And that just is a fancy way to say I'm going to do some learning by looking, and I'm going to check out my sharks. Or maybe some of the fish friends that live with them too. We got some tropical fish hanging out in there as well. Ooh, we have our big zebra shark. Ooh, we have lots of sharks coming by. I have a reef shark, and then our zebra shark just went that way. Anyways, we have lots of different sharks in here. So take a moment to make some observations. What do you notice? Does anything stand out to you? Does anything surprise you? Is there something that sort of catches your eye? Or we're just going to take a moment or two. Oh, our zebra shark is doing some laps there in the middle with her big swishy tail. And see what stands out to us about our sharks. And how do we know we're looking at a shark? There's some questions to ponder as we take a moment here to make some observations. And you're welcome to text those observations in too if you'd like. Using that number we had up before. Let's see if I can remember it. 562-286-1838. Test my memory. I did it! Yay! I am proud of myself this morning. But yeah, please feel free to text in any questions or any observations you can make. Ooh, lots of fish friends saying hello to us this morning. And sharks are fish. A lot of people, sometimes I feel like they categorize sharks as like their own thing. And they are a type of fish, or just a special type of fish. And that has to do a little bit with the way that what their skeleton is made out of, I should say. So you might notice, especially as we're watching some of them swim here, that they move a little bit different than some of my other fish in here. The kind of the regular fish, their movement is a little more structured. It's a little more controlled. Like this fish who just said hello to the camera there. And that's because fish like these friends right over there, they have bones in their body. They have bones like we have bones in their body. So that means that their body is going to move in a certain way. So I can move my fingers in some ways, but I couldn't take my finger and like bend it all the way backwards to my wrist. I can bend my arms and my elbows this way, but I couldn't bend it all the way back this way because my bones, my joints, my tendons, they aren't going to allow my body to move past a certain way. So fish, bony fish, of course, when I want to talk about bony fish, they all disappear. Normally it's the opposite. Normally when I want to talk about sharks, all the sharks disappear. But anyways, they are going to move a little bit more structured. But if you take a closer look at some of my sharks, I have some sharks hopefully coming around the corner here. I'm going to step out of the way so we can, there goes one behind the rocks. Ooh, hello. There's another one that comes up there as well. They are going to move a little bit more, their movement is a little bit more flexible. It's a little bit more wiggly squiggly, a little bit more side to side. And that's because their skeletons are made out of something different. So their skeletons are made out of cartilage. And if that's a word that is familiar to you, that is something that we have on our bodies as well. So it is the squishy material that we have on the end of our nose and on our ears as well. And that's why the sharks, like our zebra shark here, can twist their tail so far back and forth. Same with our rays as well. We have a nice view of our ray coming across the camera there too. And sharks and rays are related to each other. They're kind of like cousins. So some other cool things that make sharks are their gills. So they do need to breathe like you and me, but they don't breathe air, or they don't breathe oxygen in the air like you and me because they don't have lungs. They have something a little bit different, and they have gills. This is a great picture of a white shark here. You might also call it a great white shark. And they have gills on the side of their body here. Most sharks have 5 gills on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Most sharks have 5 gills on this side, 5 gills on that side. And that's what they're going to be using to draw water over that and extract the oxygen that is in the water. So they're going to be using their gills to breathe in the water instead of us using our lungs to breathe oxygen in the air. Most sharks have 5. There are a couple exceptions to the rule. There's a shark out there called the 6-gilled shark. It has 6 gills. There's also a shark out there with 7 gills, and they're called the 7-gilled shark. So, couple exceptions, but most sharks, for the most part, are going to have 5 gills on each side of their body to help them breathe in the water. Now, since we were looking a little bit at their fins their movement, their swimming as well, I wanted to take a moment to talk about their fins. And their fins help them move through the water as well. What fins? Ooh. What kind of shark is this, Miss Soraya? Do we know? Does it say on the label? Ooh, threshers. I should have guessed by their really long tails. So this is some thresher sharks moving in the water. This is not at Shark Lagoon. That would be cool though. This is out in the open ocean. You can tell by all the blue around them. But they're using their nice long tails to swish back and forth, and that's what's giving their kind of propulsion, their movement forward through the water. So just like we kick with our feet when we're swimming, our sharks are going to be using their tail to move forward in the water. Now, what are they doing with these fins on the side? Are they kind of flapping them like a bird? Not so much. Some of our fish use those fins a little bit more to swim forward, but our sharks, again, are going to be using mostly their tail to swim forward. Those ones are going to be used a little bit more for steering. So they might kind of tweak them a little bit this way, a little bit that way, and that is going to allow the sharks to sort of steer and turn a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit more straight, like an airplane wing, and they're just going to tilt them this way and that way so they can turn right or turn left. Now, I know when I think about a shark, one of the fins I think about the most is the fin up on the top, that dorsal fin, and that actually provides this is a great picture of one of our black tip reef sharks. You can kind of tell because they have black edges to their fins. That kind of makes sense. One day I'm going to get good at my backwards pointing here. But this dorsal fin helps the shark out with the way that its body is shaped. If I kind of look closely, I don't think about the fins, I ignore the fins. But if I look closely at the shape of a shark, I think it kind of looks a little bit kind of like an oval, but an oval with points at the end. So think a little bit more like a football. Here's a gray reef shark here. A football or a lemon or an eye. That's kind of what I think of when I think about, or torpedo, when I think about the body shape of a shark. And this dorsal fin up top, that is what's going to allow them to move through the water, keep going forward, but to stay balanced. So they're not going too much this way or too much that way, because their body is shaped like a football. And I'm not a good football thrower, but if I threw it really well, it would spiral in the air. And if sharks didn't have a dorsal fin on top of their body would also spiral like a football. So I'm glad sharks have a dorsal fin to help them swim, so they don't go too much this way and they don't go too much that way, and they're not swimming in a circle like a football, because that would be pretty silly. Oh my goodness, friends. So I hope we've started to learn a little bit more about why sharks are so awesome. And I think sharks are pretty cool. They have some really cool adaptations to help them out in their home. But they are facing some challenges to their environment. So some things that are facing them are a couple of things. They are slow to reproduce, so it does take them a long time sometimes to get to an age where they're able to have babies. And to that point, a lot of them are being fished due to unsustainable fishing practices. So sometimes they're getting caught up in nets. Sometimes they're being caught for only specific parts of their body. So they are facing some challenges in terms of fishing practices. They're also facing some challenges in terms of their environment as well. So things like climate change are affecting the whole ocean. And depending on if conditions shift, that might shift a little bit about what's going on with their food. They're also very important to their home. You might notice these sharks that we're kind of focusing on today, in their home here at the aquarium, we have some replica coral in their exhibit. And these are because these are tropical sharks that we're looking at. So the water in there is nice and toasty warm. And they are an important part to the reef because they are the apex predator. So they are the top of the food chain, and they're helping sort of keep their home in balance. A lot of sharks do like to eat fish, and they tend to go after the easy fish, right? They want kind of an easy meal. So they tend to go after fish that are weak, sick, injured, and that actually helps keep fish populations in balance so that only the strongest ones are going to keep going forward to help replenish that species of fish. So this looks like maybe it's a white tip reef shark. I got some nods from Mr. Ray here, hanging out on a coral reef. Now, let's take a moment to think about that being the top of the food chain. So I'm going to go over to my document camera over here, and I'm going to draw us a little bit of a food web. I'm just going to adjust my space here just so I have a little bit of an easier time. This is still me, by the way. I'm still here. So let's draw a little bit of a food chain. So we have the water up here, and the base of the food chain sometimes are things that are a little bit more like plants. We might have some seagrasses. We might have some kind of coral, since we're talking about tropical sharks. And that is going to be getting, make sure you can see what I'm seeing here. I'm going to go adjust my sun was too high. All right, so I got the sun up there. And then we're going to have a lot of fish that might be herbivores, that might want to eat a lot of the yummy seagrass here. So the grasses are going to be getting their energy from the sun, and the seagrass is going to be getting their energy, or excuse me, the fish are going to be eating on the seagrass, and then you're going to have a shark. Remember a shark, that apex predator. I'm going to try to draw a shark real quick. Whoop. It's going to be that apex predator there. It is going to munch on a whole bunch of fish, and that kind of stays in balance, right? So hopefully their numbers are such that the fish that are going to eat the seagrass, they're not going to eat so much that there's no more seagrass. The sun's going to be okay. I don't think I have to worry about the sun. But the shark hopefully is also going to be in a balance that it's going to eat a whole bunch of fish, but not so much that there's no more fish anymore. But what happens if we don't have sharks anymore? If we don't have sharks anymore, all of a sudden that balance kind of gets out of whack. So we don't have something that's keeping this fish population in check anymore because we removed the top of the food chain. So suddenly we get more fish and more fish and more fish. Ooh, that's a funky fish. That's okay. More fish and more fish. And all of a sudden, they're going to be eating a lot more seagrass. So all of a sudden, seagrass starts to get affected too. And then maybe this home isn't as plentiful as it used to be. So it's really important that we keep those apex predators kind of healthy and in the ocean to help kind of keep those habitats, keep those homes in balance, so that things don't get out of whack. So those are some ways that sharks are pretty important to our oceans by helping keep those fish populations in balance, which in turn keeps their home nice and in balance as well. So let's think a little bit about how would we study sharks? How would we know kind of what's going on in their world? We can definitely, as scientists, we can go out on a boat to check them out. We can maybe do some snorkeling or some scuba diving, but we can't do that forever, right? We can't just like sit on the bottom of the ocean. Did you know that scientists have underwater paper? It's pretty cool. We couldn't sit on the bottom of the ocean forever with underwater paper and go, aha, I see that there's this many sharks and they're doing these behaviors, and ooh, I noticed this fish lives here too, etc., etc. We can't do that forever. So one of the tools that scientists have to help them out is they can actually set up underwater cameras and kind of let those run. They'll have like a little GoPro on it or something like that. They'll let those cameras run for as long as they can, and then they'll come and collect the camera and watch the footage later and sort of collect the data that way instead of being physically at that spot the whole time. So this is kind of what these setups look like. So this is called a BRUV, which is a baited remote underwater video. And it is essentially, it's a camera on a tripod. And at the end of the tripod, there is a stick. And on the end of the stick, there is a bag or a basket with snacks in it, with some fish and some bait in there. And what that's going to do is attract, hopefully, some fish over to this area, and that's going to allow scientists to learn a little bit more about sort of what's going on in this reef. What sort of fish are we seeing? Are we seeing any sharks? What types of sharks are we seeing? How many sharks are we seeing? Ooh, I just noticed that shark that went by. Hopefully they'll come back. Ooh, they did. I'm gonna get out of the way. Do you see that little fish hanging out with that shark with a little stripe? That is a cleaner wrasse, and it's cleaning the shark. Oh my goodness, that was super cool. So yeah, everybody kind of has a job to play on the reefs, and by watching these videos, we can learn a little bit more about reefs all over the world. We can even put these in places where like there's never been a camera before, and learn more about these places and learn more about sort of what spaces are important to sharks, important to fish populations, and then we can take actions to protect them. So some ways we can help out our sharks are some of them are big things, some of them are little things. Some big things is to support things that help support sharks. So supporting things like marine protected areas or places like kind of like having a state park underwater. So they're preserving spaces in the ocean to help them recover from some damage or protecting important breeding grounds, feeding grounds, nurseries, things like that. So supporting things that support MPAs are one way to help out sharks. Supporting things that support sustainable seafood or eating sustainable seafood is another way to help out sharks, especially sharks that eat fish. So remember, they help keep those fish populations in balance. So that's ensuring that we're eating fish that are being taken out of the ocean in a responsible manner. And that allows to help keep that balance. Oh my! Oh my goodness, that scared me. Wow. Okay, I'm awake now. Fish. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, supporting sustainable fish is a. Oh my goodness. That knocked my god. That scared me. Alright, so supporting sustainable fish is a great way to make sure that that balance stays in place. There's enough fish out there for the sharks to eat. There's enough fish out there for us to eat. I'm going to step off screen here so you can check out these sharks a little bit more. Oh my goodness. Okay, so, those are some big things we can do to help support sharks. Some other things we can do, everybody can do, are some little things that have a big impact. So, hopefully these are some of these things are things you're already doing. So things like picking up our trash, making sure that gets in a trash can. Recycling, using things that are more reusable, like reusable water bottles, reusable shopping bags, reusable lunch bags. Those are little things that can go a really long way to make sure that our oceans stay nice and healthy, they stay nice and clean, and that in turn is going to make sure healthy oceans are going to help out keeping the ocean, everything that lives in the ocean, including sharks, to have a nice and happy and healthy home. Another great way to help out sharks is to share what we know. If we share what we know, if we share our enthusiasm about the oceans, about our sharks, those can help spread the word that sharks are awesome. Sharks are important, and the more people that understand about the ocean, about sharks, I think the more people can kind of if the more people that can understand it, the more people can care. And I think if the more people can care, they can help take actions to help out our oceans, help out our planet, and help out our sharks. So those are definitely some ways that we can help out our oceans and help support our sharks. Now we have a little bit of time, my friends, before I say goodbye. So again, if you have any questions, if there's anything you're curious about, you are welcome to ask those questions. Again, we'll get that number back up on our screen, 562-286-1838. You're welcome to text some questions if you have some burning ocean questions, anything you wanted to ask about sharks. I'm happy to give it a go. So again, please feel free to text those questions in. And yeah, I'm happy to answer questions. But we do have a little bit of time before we say goodbye. So I think I'm going to jump back in to talking about some adaptations, maybe, that we hadn't talked about before. Let me see, what do I want to think about? What do I want to chat about today? Let's talk, we haven't talked about shark teeth. So let's talk about shark teeth for a moment. And before I go pull, I'm going to go pull some jaws in just a moment. I'm giving like Miss Ray a heads up of what I'm going to do. Before I do that, let's put up a picture of shark skin. Because did you know that sharks don't just have teeth in their mouth? They have teeth on their skin. Whoa. So this is what, if you looked in a microscope or you looked really, really close on a shark, this is kind of what you would see. This is what shark skin looks like. And they have these little modified scales here that kind of look like teeth. I believe it is made of dentin. It's made out of the same stuff that our teeth are made out of. And that allows the shark to help protect itself. And different sharks are different sizes and shapes. Excuse me. To those scales on their body. So let's see, I'm going to pick out some different shark jaws to get on in just a moment. putting up some different shark skin for you. I'm trying to find. That's what it was like staring me right in the face. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay. Alright. Ooh, she had one of my favorite sharks up, the zebra shark. And that's actually one of the jaws I pulled, so that's perfect. So that spotty shark we saw just a moment ago, that was a zebra shark. And if you're wondering, why do they call it a zebra shark when they don't have spots on them? Or when they have spots on them, they don't have stripes on them. They had stripes when they were little. And as they grew up, those stripes stretched. This is what they look like when they're babies. They're adorable. The stripes stretched, turned into polka dots. So they look a little bit different than they do when they are grown-ups. But this is what their teeth look like. That's what they look like when they're grown-ups. So yeah, most times when I introduce a zebra shark, people look at me funny because they're like, hold on. That has no stripes. What's going on? This is what their teeth look like. Aren't they cute? They're itty bitty. I'm going to go zoom in so you can see the cool shape too. So this is my finger just for scale. They're so tiny. So I think it's cool that a really big shark can eat really little things. So if you look at their teeth, they're not going to eat big fish. That's not gonna work with a mouth that small, with teeth that small. So they actually eat stuff on the bottom. They eat things like crabs and clams and snails, and the teeth are kind of pointy, but they're kind of flat too. So they actually kind of helps them sort of grind up those animals that might be in a hard shell, and that helps them eat their food, depending on their teeth. So I like to think of teeth as different tools. So different sharks have different sizes, shapes, styles of teeth to help them eat the food that is the best for them. Same like we have different styles of teeth, and that helps us do different things. So we kind of bite with our front teeth, we chew with our back teeth. I'm going to switch out to another jaw here. I believe this might be from maybe a great white or something similar to that. Ooh, that was perfect. I'm going to stop right there. Because their teeth are a little bit different. Let me see if I can play with the light for just a moment here. Or maybe let me try to focus it a little bit more. Because I want you to see the edges a little bit better. That's kind of what I'm trying to focus on. Let me turn down the light. Nope, that's too much. We're going to go with that. Ooh, okay. We can go back. So yeah, that's great white. That's what their teeth look like. So their edges. Apologies, my friends. My mic does not like my ear this morning. That's okay. The edges of these are a little bit different. They're really rough. They're almost kind of like spiky at the edge there. And that sort of acts like a knife to help eat really big things, but eat them in small pieces. So just like we will use a butter knife or a steak knife to cut a big piece of meat into something smaller, so it's a lot easier and more manageable for us to eat, that is what sharks can do just with their teeth, which are really, really neat. So that's a little bit about sharks. I hope we learned a little bit more that sharks are pretty cool, amazing animals. They have some awesome adaptations to help them out in their home. They're really important to their homes as the apex predator. So they will help keep food chains, fish populations in balance. So they're really important that they stay in their homes to help provide that balance for those habitats. We can study them with underwater cameras. We can help by doing all sorts of things that help support sharks. So things like, again, picking up our trash, eating sustainable seafood, supporting marine protected areas, and just sharing our love of sharks are some great ways to help out our sharks and help out our ocean. So I hope you guys had fun hanging out for a little bit this morning, chatting about sharks. If you have any further questions, at this point, we're going to ask you to email us. One of our educators will get to that email or get to those questions as soon as they can. That email address is, again, live@lbaop.org. Email those questions in. And if there are any teachers watching, if you wouldn't mind texting in the number of students that are watching with you, that just helps us get a little bit of a better gauge in terms of our viewership numbers and how we can help better serve our communities. So teachers, if you don't mind texting in the number of students watching with you, that's 562-286 1838. If you have any further questions, please email us. So again, thank you so much for joining us this morning for our Aquarium Online Academy. We're going to be coming back on Monday with some more programming for you at 9 o'clock. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody.